I love doing voices, not just as a game master and player, but also just as a born and bred weirdo who's been doing silly voices my whole life. And if you watch my channel, you probably already know this. Does this mean you're finally ready for me to find you a love match? So after your 10th purchase, you get a free human skull.
I have done this also. Lots of blood.
Slug! This is perfect!
There's been a lot of discussion about voices in the tabletop space. Some people think it's part of the game master's job, others don't, and some are even resentful of the way that a few well-known game masters have made voices a central part of their style, which some GMs believe puts pressure on them to do the same. I think most reasonable people would agree that it's really the GM's choice of whether they want to do voices or not. If they enjoy it, fine, and if they don't, also fine. And we're all reasonable people here, right? We'd never take anyone's words out of context in order to make a bad faith argument in the comments. Right? But once we get phrases like the Mercer effect out of our system and all agree that it's not cool to break your game master's legs and cut the phone lines until they agree to do voices, maybe we can have an actual nuanced conversation about the role that voice acting can play in a game. Because I do think that giving characters distinct voices can bring something to the game table. And if you're interested in developing or honing that skill set, boy have I got a treat for you. Who better to teach us about voices than a professional voice doer? Also known as a voice actor, I guess, if you're fancy.
I'm Anjali Bhimani. I am an actor, a producer, an author, whatever they let me do in storytelling that is legal. The video games that I'm probably most well known for are playing Symmetra in Overwatch.
I will put you in your place.
And Rampart in Apex Legends.
Time to turn crap into gold.
My day job is acting. My day job is TV and film and, all of that stuff. But in the tabletop world, which has been such a joy to come back into since I started playing when I was 8, and then there was like this long period of time which I call the dark days of gaming. And it was thanks to Matt and Marisha really encouraging me to come back to playing games. And then working with Critical Role and D20 and all of this really fun stuff.
Gentlemen! Oh, I'm so sorry. Shh, the show is going on. Shh. Lady Amango, she's Jessica Rabbit as a mango.
And I DM'd for the first time for you.
And you did so good.
We did the Lego D&D one-shot, which was incredible with Hasbro.
The Lego game, I was like, that does not feel like your first time DMing.
You lying!
I need you to roll initiative.
Well, I've been very, very lucky to play with some of the most experienced DMs who are also used to streaming. So they really lead by example. It's, Matt and Abria and Brennan and all of those. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've been very spoiled. In addition to all of that, I have finally written and published my very first adventure called The Malady of Minar, which is available now on D&D Beyond.
I was so excited to see the little, flag at the top of my D&D Beyond screen. Okay, so obviously Anjali is a professional. When she GMs, she draws from her experience as an actor. And when I played with her, I definitely felt like her skill as an actor made the game a lot more fun, which is great since that's usually what we want from games. That and a good excuse to buy a lot of highly specific polyhedral shapes. Of course, I do not believe that every game master has to be a skilled actor. We spend enough effort acting like we actually prepped for the session. Still, I think that we can learn lessons from actors to improve our games. Giving NPCs memorable voices instead of just talking has a few big benefits. First, it amps up immersion. If the voice helps you picture the character instead of just the GM, that's gonna help players feel more engaged with the game. This may shock you to hear, but most people don't find this visage very scary. They should, though. Second, it enables players to tell NPCs apart. In a scene with multiple NPCs, it helps you track who's talking if those characters sound different from each other. And if an NPC has a memorable voice, that's just one more cue to help players remember them if they encounter that NPC again. And finally, it gives you an additional way to communicate information about the character, like that they're harmless, or full of themselves, or from New Jersey.
I think there is a depth of characters. Sometimes you hear someone's voice and you know more about them. For example, I'll take some from the puppy roll. So we had this bodacious husky, and he kind of sounded like this, and he was immediately, everybody knew he was super cool, and he was the man about town, and he kind of talked like this. And then there was a very proper poodle.
Oh yeah, you know all about her.
You know all about her immediately.
At this point, you're probably saying, Ginny, listen, you're preaching to the choir. I already want to do voices. That's why I clicked on this video. Aren't you going to tell us how to do voices? And first of all, calm down. What are you, in a rush or something? You're the one who clicked on a YouTube video. I think you probably have plenty of time. You're folding laundry or something, or avoiding doing work. That's right, I see you. That's why it's no big deal that I'm about to take 60 seconds to talk about today's sponsor. That's enough time to fold like 5 shirts. You're welcome. Hey, almost ready to start. Just grabbing some monster tokens and we'll roll initiative. Oh, have you tried Chepeku tokens yet? Are they the ones who make those fancy maps? Yeah, but they've just introduced tokens too. I'll send you the link to subscribe now. It's go.chepeku.com/GinnyD. They have 2 different tiers, so you can pick the right one for your budget. The tokens are for monsters, player characters, and NPCs, and they're totally customizable. Skin color, eye color, hair, clothes, accessories. It's like a doll maker, but with ogres. I mean, it's just a horde of goblins. Doesn't really matter if they're emerald or avocado green. What about changing their weapons to match your stat block? Or putting them on different colored backgrounds so we can stop saying, I attacked the one on the left, no the other left, no the wizard's left. This is pretty detailed. I can even pick the goblin's ears. They release new tokens every week for subscribers. If you're in a hurry, you can just grab one of the presets, or there's a randomizer, so you could have a whole horde of completely unique goblins in like 20 seconds. Then you just download them with one click and drop them into your VTT. The Hexer is gonna have red eyes, 'cause magic. Should we roll initiative, or shush? I think I'm gonna give the boss earrings. It's a symbol of his rank.
How would you define a voice? That's a great question. Doing a voice and just voicing a character feel like 2 different things to me.
Yeah.
Doing a voice is very kind of like you slap it on the top.
Right.
Right? But voicing a character is, especially if it's an NPC, you are choosing the language they speak. And even just changing that up, you will hear, the people around you, your players will hear a difference in your tone and a difference in your voice just by choosing different language for them. So don't feel the need to jump into accents and jump into different sounds. I feel like when you have the essence of a character in your heart, it will start to come through. Even when I am doing a voice for a character in a video game or in animation, it's not so much putting on something as filling it up with what I believe the character to be, and then deciding what that sounds like. Which means that sometimes doing a voice is not doing a voice at all. Sometimes it's my voice, sometimes it's my voice heightened from emotion, sometimes there's age involved. But I think a lot of people think that they have to do a bunch of different voices that aren't recognizable at all from each other in order for people to recognize the different NPCs, and I don't believe that at all. Because I love doing different fun voices, I will mix them in for flavor, but it's definitely not necessary.
When you learn something about a character's personality or just some description of them, how do you then translate that into the ways that they would speak?
First, I'll start off with, is this a creature? Is this a human? Is this someone that sounds like a human? Like, what is that? Because sometimes creatures, like for example, the mushrooms in our Lego event, they were creatures that didn't have mouths and they were tiny. So I decided that they should talk up here, or talk here, because I was like, there's not a whole lot of space for them to be making that sound.
Right, for like resonance.
Yes, and also they're just really cute, and I wanted them to sound cute, so I gave them that voice.
Do you think one sort of element that's different from your own voice, or that's more thoughtfully paired with the character, is usually enough to differentiate?
I really do think it's plenty. If you want to find a physicality that suits the character, sometimes that helps. That becomes your one element. For some people, accents are very helpful. They aren't necessary, but for some people they are. But just one tiny difference that differentiates that character, I think that's plenty.
I feel like there are really 2 points Anjali's making here. The first is about the philosophical approach to what a voice means. When she talks about the difference between doing a voice and voicing a character, what I think she's really talking about is intention. Why did you choose that voice? What connects it to this character? I could voice a Goliath gladiator like Nigel Thornberry. Would it be hilarious? Yes. What kind of damage would his weapon deal? Smashing. But that would be what Anjali describes as doing a voice, just slapping a voice on top of a character. It has nothing to do with who that gladiator is. But voicing a character is about using what you know about them to inform their speaking voice. If you choose the elements of his voice based on something about him, now you're voicing him with intention. Where is he from? What personality and attitude does he have? How old is he? How tall is he? 7 to 8 feet? That's crazy. Did he say anything about me? The second point she's making is more practical, and that's the idea that just one differentiating factor is usually enough to make a voice stand out. So if the character sounds very old or has a French accent, that's probably enough. If they have a super nasal voice, they don't need to also mumble everything under their breath or start every sentence with, well, to play devil's advocate. I mean, unless you want your players to instantly hate them, and then you should probably do all three. Not only does this tactic help your players quickly and easily remember each character, but it also helps you remember them. It's much easier to jot down a note about your shopkeeper having a lisp than to log some complex combination of different vocal quirks.
I know you've been acting for a really long time, so this may not apply anymore, but do you like practice a voice that you're going to be doing frequently?
I play with my voice a lot just to see what new things I think I might be able to do so that I'm not walking into a situation where if they need 20 voices, I don't have them to give them.
You practice like the craft of
Yes.
being able to change your voice.
100%.
What does playing with voice sound like for you? Like, what does that mean?
Well, sometimes it means I'm talking to my dog, literally talking to myself and figuring out silly voices to talk to myself in. If I'm researching a show, an animated series or something like that, I think to myself, oh, what's a character that I could play on that show and what would they sound like?
Oh, that's fun.
That's super fun. I did that a lot with Game of Thrones.
If you were to give dungeon masters who are not planning on doing anything with acting, but just maybe want to improve their range of how they can voice NPCs, what would be like your top tips for those people?
I think first of all, don't worry right away about doing a voice. Think about the essence of that character and close your eyes and think about what that character sounds like. Don't feel like you have to do an accent or have to do a this or I have to do a that unless you feel like it really fills a character with something extra. It's fun, it's an extra layer, it does give them depth, but is by no means necessary for you to be a good DM. Playing with accents involves not being worried you're going to offend someone in the moment, right? And so having a conversation with the various players you have at the table, particularly if they are from a different country or sound different or whatever, playing with those voices, seeing how they feel about it, about you maybe trying that and that being a part of a character or something. I as an Indian person, when people want to try to learn the accent, everybody has to sound bad at it before they sound good. Some people are just savants and they have it immediately, but they have to sound bad at it. As long as you're not ridiculing me and you're doing it at my table in a safe space and we're not on camera, go for it. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out if that is necessary to this character.
I know that I can sometimes default to using accents that have these sort of cultural signifiers attached to them that might be problematic. Like, why do I make every rich fancy noble sound English? You know, like,
why in every fantasy movie ever is everyone sound very British?
You can all give each other grace because you all understand nobody's trying to hurt anybody.
Yes, and you know that if someone is offended by something, they can tell you, and you'll be like, cool, I can not do that.
Right.
I hope that people's home games are that. Safe places not just to explore the fantasy and the story, but to explore the human condition and explore things that we don't necessarily safely get to do in real life.
There's something really important that Anjali mentioned here that I just want to highlight. She said, let's figure out if this is necessary to the character. Does it give the character something extra? I think this is a really good question to ask yourself if you're worried about overdoing it. Does the voice you're doing actually add anything to the character, or is it just something that you're adding on top because that's what game masters do? The whole point of using voices is to enhance your characterization, but giving a character a flawless Scottish accent doesn't automatically make them interesting. I'm sure there are boring Scottish people. I mean, I've never met one, but they probably exist. Instead, think about the specific choices you're making and what they're actually doing for your players. That might be something as simple as making them laugh, or something as narratively important as making them mistrustful. But whatever it is, there should be something.
If anybody does want to get your new adventure,
yes,
where do they get it?
They go to D&D Beyond. You may have heard of it. Just go to D&D Beyond, head over to the marketplace. It's called The Malady of Minar. It is a 2 to 3 session adventure for level 5 players. There are themes in there of darkness and light and love and revenge and all sorts of crazy stuff.
I love an adventure that has complex goals besides just like kill bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think that you've done a really good job writing an adventure that has like various interconnected complex goals, and that's my favorite thing about an adventure.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes because I feel like I'm your student. So that's very cool to hear that from someone that I've binged all of her YouTube videos to try to learn what I'm doing.
Oh, that is very generous. Well, thanks for talking with me.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
And now we can go
Let's go.
I made a whole video about developing a character voice a few years ago, and obviously I'm not nearly as informed on this topic as Anjali is, but talking with her actually made me feel like I was on the right track with this one, so you can watch this video next if you want more of a step-by-step, or if you're not done folding your laundry yet. I know that shit takes forever.